He's developed and implemented some well-known Irish brands, including the EPA, Green Star and Waterways Ireland. He's been a specialist and is a specialist in bid support and tender management, and has assisted his clients in winning tenders currently worth over €2 billion in a wide range of sectors over the past decade. According to his LinkedIn profile that I read yesterday, he said his goal is to simply continue to grow his expertise and share it with his clients. And actually, one of his clients wrote, Nicholas is a true professional, well worth having a chat about a brand assessment or a clinic. Nicholas delivers projects on time and is a pleasure to work with. And with that, I hand over to Nick.
How to follow that. You do know, of course, you put all that stuff up online yourself, that it's not
Oh, and can I ask everybody to go on mute, please?
Can you turn screen sharing over to me?
It's open.
Okay. Sure. This is different. This is a different sharing than I've used before, Alec.
All right. Do you want me to share the thing you sent me?
Yeah, just give me a sec. Let's see, can I figure it out?
There we go. Something's gone.
Well, that's me sharing it now. You tell me if you...
Yeah, that's fine. I'll tell you when to.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you when to change slides.
Yeah.
If that's okay. You can be.
Yeah, just give me a thumbs up each time you want the slide to change.
Yeah. Okay. So Alec asked me a number of months ago to look at putting together some type of presentation for this. And one of the things that troubles our profession greatly is that of briefing, because briefing is the core of absolutely everything. And if you get it right, you get a great result. And if you get it wrong, you get a bad result. And yesterday, we have a client in Matrix who will remain nameless, but in, over 30 years of being in this business, I've never come across anything like it. They're a large company, an environmental company. They commissioned a brand refresh on a website last September. The first brand presentation we made, which I thought was pretty good, they rejected. So that's okay, that happens. So they came back with some suggestions and we created a new brand. That was delivered in October. And this company has about 6 different sub-brands. So there's a lot of work in putting it together. So we're now working on the website. So 2 months ago, they rejected that brand. And we discovered they had an MD they'd never told us about. And he sent a hand-drawn image of what he wanted for the brand. So because it's not my company, I didn't tell him to get stuffed. I actually got on and did it. Had it been baseline, he would have been gone at that instant. But anyway, so we put this together. It was approved. We did the full set of guidelines again. And then he changed his heart 2 weeks ago. So he gave us another sketch of what he'd like done. And at this point, I rang our MD and said, I'm not doing it. It's just, so we got the team to do it. And yesterday, when we'd finished the approved one, the 4th one, he sent me an email saying, we've had a rethink about this, Nick. We're going to go back to the one you did last October. So who's at fault there? I'm at fault for not insisting on him following a briefing process. I'm at fault for lots of reasons in this. And because the website was in fact the most valuable part of this project, that drove with everything else. So we were being more helpful than we'd normally be when it came to a branding project. But at no point did he provide a brief or accept a brief that we provided for him. So briefing's important. Next slide, Al.
Okay. Hang on a sec. My window's jumping around. Anything happening? Because I can't even see my own screen here.
No, nothing's happening.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me just put it up again.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, good design starts with creation design brief. Next slide, Alec. So a design brief is only a document that basically provides a designer or a design team with the information that they need to look at, the project. But in reality, it is a temporary document, because a proper design brief is one where it's actually prepared in consultation with the designer, so that when a client gives you a brief, design businesses have more expertise in what people actually want, and they can come back and say, thanks for the brief. We would think that this is actually what you should be doing, as well as the things you spoke about. And with that, you create a brief that you can actually approve. Next slide, Al. So not all projects need a brief. So the project on the left, Aradia, is one of my favorite clients. It's a cosmetic business, cosmetic surgery, quite big, has its own hospital and so on. So I've worked with them for 10 years. So my brief from them is quite simply, Nick, I need a large stand for a piece we're doing in a hotel next week. Here's some text, can you set it up? And so it's done. Or in the case of real estate alliance, I need an ad, corporate ad. And because we've worked with them before, we actually understand their stuff. So a brief isn't actually needed. It's and what we might actually do is say to them, here's some ideas of what we're thinking of doing, should we proceed? And that becomes the brief, the agreed brief between us. Next one, Al. This one, which is recently completed for an EU body called the Atolo project. Their original name was Digi Edu for Sen. So we thought we'd need to change that. And Atolo means to elevate or enlighten. So this took two brand workshops, and a brand definition document before we even started looking at creatives. And the brand definition document is the actual brief agreed between us. We provide it to the client and we say, this is what we believe we should do. If you think if you agree with us, say yes. If you don't, we'll discuss it, refine the brand definition document, and then we start off. So one of the key things in the workshops was that it's to do with education for special education needs across Europe. They wanted something that had a lot of life in it, because their target audience, and that's the key thing in a brief, knowing the target audience, was in kind of 12 to 24, which is quite a big range, but it allowed us to be quite colourful in our approach to the project. This got a round of applause the other day at its launch, so it's very proud of this one. Next one, Al.
Hang on. Sorry, Nick. Just dealing with multitasking, Nick. That's what I do.
That's what you're a project manager, of course.
Of course.
So this is the one Alec mentioned last week, where a guy came into us and said, I need a brochure. But when we discovered that what he actually wanted to do was build a client group, we found out that one of his staff had written an absolutely stunning piece of work on the Metro Ethernet, which was huge for the type of people he wanted to talk to. So we changed the project around and we created this book, and we produced about 40 of them, and they were sent packaged nicely with new stationery to their targets. And his comment at the end of it, this also won an IDEA award, Irish Design Effectiveness Award. His comment at the end of it was, before I couldn't get through on the phone to people, now they're ringing me to set up appointments. So that's effective design. And the brief, and this is where the collaborative brief is so important, that going back and saying, you never say to the client they got it wrong to their face, but you work your way around that. Okay, next one out. It's all about the why. Brief is all about the why. Why are you doing this? Next one out. So I suggest there's 5 things you need to do when you're writing an initial brief to a designer or a design team. So you can go down through these, Alec. So, you know, objectives and goals, understand your audience, really important. What are the key messages that your company has, and how is your brand working? What deliverables and specifications? Quite important, because whether it's a website or whether it's a brochure or a brand project, the design company needs to know what you're looking for, and if there's specific things that are needed. Define a project timeline. So, because in a lot of cases we would have to say, and Alec will agree with me in this, we've had to say to people, that isn't adequate time to do this project. We need more time, or else we need to charge you twice the price because we work late in it, you know. So it's that kind of thing. Define in writing a brief. It's actually quite difficult to define a budget if you don't really know what design agencies cost or design, you know. So, but it's worthwhile putting a budget in place, because we'll actually get rid of a group of people who won't do it for that. If you know what I mean. So if you save 10 grand for it, that's great. There's a group of people that will do it for that. But if you save 2, it's not going to work. Next one out. So the brief is, as I said, it's about the why. This brief was for an American company that resells IBM technology. I don't know quite how they do it, but this brief was, we want sales and nothing else. Absolutely. This is all about sales guys, American guys. And so we created this, which for anyone involved in print, this was a 6-color special print production. It was quite expensive. The gold was printed on, as was the silver in that thing. And their key message was, it's about security. What we do offer security. So I can't remember, Al, did they make 60 or $100 million in sales?
Yeah, it was about, I think it was about 100. It's for RAID storage. That's what their product was.
So they could attribute $100 million worth in sales directly to the release of this brochure and the follow-up. Next one on. This is just about marketing. Key Plastics, one of my favorite clients, did a new brand for them a number of years ago. Seth and Jimmy are involved in it. And so over the past 5 years, I've been supporting them with marketing material. It's not about sales, it's about marketing, it's about awareness. It's about people knowing they exist. And I've just finished a set of signage for their 2 buildings. Next one out. Excuse me. This is purely about celebration. This is Barrett Manny, a very large engineering firm, and they were 25 years, and they wanted to celebrate it. But it's also about marketing, you know. So we produced this 25 different projects they'd done over 25 years, and it was circulated to all the clients. So, as I'm saying, the brief is about the why. Next one out. Briefs should be simple, they should be terse, and they should be flexible. So clients should understand there is a need for flexibility between what they want, what they can have, and how much it might cost. So, next one. Let's talk about the budget. In my experience, when you go for quotes, the cheapest quote seldom delivers. And to give you an example, a recent government body, we were asked to tender. 4 companies tendered. I think 5 companies tendered. The state body had said they had a budget of 50K to do this project, but they still wanted each company to cost it. So I told our company we couldn't do it for 50K. It would cost a lot more to do it, but they absolutely decided we'd go for it because it was worth developing a new client, which actually isn't true when it comes to government bodies, because they can't retain you. So anyway, we got the highest score of everyone in the report back from the client. We didn't win it. We put in a fee of 47,000. It was one for 17,500. No one could do this project for that. So there's 2 things. One is if you're getting it cheap, you're not going to get what you need. The other is, in the case of the state, how dare they, take the cheapest price for something that's super important as climate change, which is what the project was about. So the state should be recognizing that it's not about money when it comes to these things. And if you've set a budget, just accept. Excuse me, next one. Excuse me. So costs change if the requirement changes, so be very careful when you get costings from a design agency. So I recently finished an identity for, again, a company won't be named. They're on their fourth. I mentioned these guys earlier, so it's, they're crazy. When things change, it comes with a cost. Make sure you have a relationship with whoever you're working with, that you will understand that, or they will let you know, because it's incumbent on both the design company and the business to manage costs and to keep them within budget where possible. Next one out.
Okay.
So, how do you pick the right designer? Because when it comes to the brief, getting the right designer is quite important. So there are obvious choices. Keep going now. No overtly selling here, but you could always pick this guy. Next slide.
Your twin brother's better looking than you, Nick.
He is, isn't he?
Hmm.
So, there's a lot of options. It's actually a very confusing world, the design world. So if you look at some of the companies here, so my private business, Cloake, is a small consultancy. So it'll be cheaper than someone like Red Dog or Idea or Design Factory. There's projects that would suit my company, Cloake, that I would probably do better than some of these, but then there's resources that these organizations have that may suit you better, so it's how you pick them. The other thing too is that if you get on with a design agency and you develop a relationship with it, future work becomes both cheaper and easier for both parties. Next slide, Al. So it's about finding the right fit. Next one. So in picking an agency, where do you start? If you've worked with them before, you're fine. But I would ask colleagues or friends for recommendations. And I'm quite happy for anyone to contact me, and I'll happily recommend an agency or several agencies if they want to talk to them. But that's where you start. The next one now. Check with any network. So again, here in the network, Jimmy, myself, Alec can all advise people if they need help in finding someone to work with. Next one. Or if you really have to, go online, do some research. And in fact, before you pick people to work with, do some research anyway, if you're going to pick a number of people to talk to. Next one out. So when you've picked a number of people to work with, you compose a brief, and that will allow them to provide basic costs, indicative costs, and detail the design process, and the type of time it will take to do it. So if you go out to a number of agencies and you get this back, you'll start feeling comfortable with who you might want to work with. Next slide.
Hang on a sec. We're all over the shop again.
Always ask people who are submitting to you to provide samples of their work, either work that they feel is relevant to your particular project or that showcases their talent. So if I'm submitting work to show people, design companies don't always have something exactly like the project that people are looking for. But if you can see the type of level of quality of work, it'll help you decide, because after all, it is a visual thing. The other thing too is if you are interested in actually, if a design agency is interested in working with you, they'd actually call you to meet you. You know, and if the project is big enough, it's worth interviewing design agencies. So if it's a rebrand, a new brand, packaging project, absolutely worth going out and meeting, because the relationship is very important to feel comfortable with these guys. So we've an agency, or we've a project going at the moment for an alarm company, a very big alarm company, and it's been managed out of Birmingham. It's part of the Assa Abloy group, and we presented our first. The brand's been approved, but we presented our first pieces of collateral, which was a whole new packaging concept and some promotional literature. And they said it was the best piece of work they've seen in 5 years. And the reason, and I'm not saying that because we did a good job, which we did, the reason they really liked it was that it reflected everything they asked for. We dealt with what they wanted rather than trying to impose a design style that was ours. But anyway, depending on the size of the project, 3 to 5 agencies, anything over that will take you a bucket load of time to actually deal with. So, and also, as I said earlier, the best designs are the result of briefs that have been developed in collaboration, without a doubt. Okay, 3 to go. The other thing is, remember, design is a business. We're not doing it for the crack. You know, we actually have to pay our mortgages, feed our kids, and do all that stuff. And it's a creative discipline. It's not an artistic one. Don't confuse us with artists. We are in this for our creative integrity and the money. And in the case of Baseline, my ambition was always to produce great design work, and Alex's ambition was to make sure we got paid for it. So, you know, so designers are business.
Good combination.
Yeah, design is about business. Never forget that. They're business people just like you. Last slide.
There it is.
Any questions?
Nick, thank you so much. That was a really interesting presentation, really informative, and some great tips there about briefing and getting the best out of designers. So thanks very much.
No problem.